This is One on One. We're now joined by Senator Tom Kean Jr. We're in the Senate chamber. By the way, do you like this chamber?
Love this chamber.
Why?
Love this chamber. Well, it's intimate. You can actually walk across the aisle and have the conversations, find some real solutions, and it's pretty efficient.
That's in theory. Does that actually happen? You're the Senate minority leader, the Republican leader. There's a lot of solutions take place. So you're finding solutions to the pension problem.
Right.
You're finding solutions to the transportation trust fund problem. All these solutions.
It's 40 people. 40 people trying to come together to find a solution. We agree on a huge chunk of the issues. Obviously, there's a discrepancy on tax policy, on budgetary priorities, on a number of funding different issues. But as a 40-member chamber, you can serve together. I mean, believe me, the Assembly chamber is glorious. I love the rug. I love the openness. I love all that. But in terms of coming together and finding, I was there for a year and a half.
How much different?
It's significantly different. It's significantly different. The larger number of people, I mean, you don't get to know
80 versus 40.
80 versus 40 means you don't get to know each other as quickly as you do in the state Senate. You've got smaller committees in the state Senate. You've got a smaller overall number of people. People are able to work together in a lot of different ways, and you agree, you disagree, but in the end, the biggest and best solutions are bipartisan in nature.
Well, I like that backdrop, Senator, because it's a good segue. We had a great conversation with your colleague and friend, the Senate President, Steve Sweeney, on the question of the pension. This decision by Judge Mary Jacobson to say that the state must put in $1.56 billion that it didn't last time. Sweeney says, Senate President Sweeney says, that's right, it has to be done, and the governor should have done it in the first place. He broke the commitment. We had an agreement. He broke it. And the Democrats put the millionaires tax in there, and you should have used that money, the revenue from the millionaires tax, used it to fund the pension. He said, that's it. It would have been done.
It was an irresponsible solution. Raising taxes.
Whose was?
On the
Democrats?
The Democrats' proposal to increase taxes on everything from income taxes to corporate business taxes. They didn't fund business tax reduction commitments that brought businesses in the state of New Jersey in last year's budget, as you may recall. But to increase taxes on income, to increase taxes on bodegas, to increase taxes on on UEZs, on a number of other fronts.
UEZs are those unemployment, those funds?
No, the
urban
enterprise zones.
Right.
There are a number of about $1.3 billion of tax increases in last year's budget. The Senate Republican caucus said we shouldn't have these type of tax increases because it's unsustainable over time. If we don't have people creating jobs, generating revenue in the state of New Jersey, staying in the state of New Jersey, 3 generations of New Jerseyans staying in the state of New Jersey, then you can't fund any obligations. Now, we have a responsibility to pay the pension. And we have presented sustainable plans to pay the pension, whether it's over 7 years, over 10 years, or what have you.
But the courts have said right now.
The courts have said.
The judge said no.
No, the court said, if I may.
Go ahead.
What the court said is, if you can find the revenues, you need to go down this path. That's a very big caveat. And saying it on the eve of the governor's speech, hours before the governor's speech, we can talk about the timing
Do you think it was
components.
Political?
I think it was unfortunate. But I think what we've offered are ways. We're not going to increase taxes on the hardworking citizens of New Jersey. We're going to. We can't increase the income tax. We can't increase the business tax. You can't increase the sales tax. All these things. No, that's an income tax. Income taxes and other taxes drive people away. I want a state where they can find the kids coming out of college can afford to go to college. Secondly, they can find their first job. The mid-career professional can find a number of different opportunities. And then finally, people can retire and stay in the state of New Jersey. You want, as I've said earlier, parents, grandparents, and kids all within an hour or two or less away from each other. It's what you grew up with. It's what I grew up with. It's what so many people view as part of the New Jersey dream. And if you've got tax increases and spending that's just dramatically making it less affordable, not only do you have somebody who's a plane ride away, and the new job that's created in Massachusetts or down, as they are in pharmaceuticals, or down on hospitals and everything else in other states, but you've got family members who are moving away. And then what happens is, as more people leave the state of New Jersey, and we lose our federal clout because you lose congressional representatives because other states are growing population more, well, then you have less revenues. And then you can't meet your responsibilities if you don't have the revenues coming into the state of New Jersey, because you're not creating the right type of high-tech jobs, of middle-income jobs, of jobs that people want to create and sustain in the state of New Jersey.
So let me ask you this, Senator. It looks like this money, $1.56 billion, Again, to the average person, it's hard to put this into context, but Senator O'Toole, your colleague, was saying this is real money, and it's going to, if it doesn't come from tax increases, which he doesn't support either, they're going to come from real cuts.
Well,
and so the question is, where do you think the Democrats come up with those cuts?
Well, you could look at, if it's cuts and it's real people, it's tens of thousands of potential employees. And what does that do?
Public employees.
Public employees and other services. So if you look at this and say, what are the alternatives?
Sure.
The alternatives are make these payments, make them in a responsible fashion, make them over time. At the exact same time, you're saying to people in state and beyond that we're not going to increase the income tax. We're going to make sure that the taxes are sustainable over time, and we're going to focus on ways to make sure that, like I've proposed, an entire Republican job creation package that says, the postdoctoral research fellows, who, we are the innovation state, that you can bring jobs and ideas into New Jersey. We want more patents. You want people who can, live down the street from where they grew up. That's the type of thing where we can have the best possible school system, the best possible economy, and also be the draw for people who want the state to be even better than it is.
Senator, I want to shift gears. I've talked to you about this many times, but it hasn't moved, this initiative that you have championed. But it's interesting. The initiative that would allow for a certain number of students, particularly in urban areas, to have the choice to go to a non-public school is called?
Right. It's Opportunity Scholarship Act.
The Opportunity Scholarship Act. What is it?
Right.
Why is it stalled?
Well,
what is it? Why does it matter, and why is it stalled?
Well, what it is right now, I fundamentally believe that equality start in life means you graduate from high school, either college or career ready. And too many kids in too many circumstances aren't getting that type of opportunity. So I'm saying in those schools that are, by any measure, failing their students, you can have successful schools and unsuccessful schools right down the street from each other. So it doesn't impact every school in a municipality, but impacts certain schools that are failing students, either 60% or 40% of the students who are failing one or both tests. Those kids can't wait 12 years to find a solution. Opportunity Scholarship Act says, the parent can say, let's move to another public school.
Right.
Let's move to a private or parochial school. Let's find another option for these kids in real time. Because 12 years is 3 generations of high school students. That's unacceptable for the greatest country and the greatest country.
When did you introduce that?
I've been the prime sponsor of that now about probably 12 years.
12 years?
12 years.
Where is it today?
Well,
where does it sit today, the idea of legislation?
Well, the legislation is now going to be in the governor's budget address today. And he's going to
talk about it.
He's going to talk about the Opportunity Scholarship. He talked about in the State of the State. He's going to talk about it in this bill. It's a modest proposal that has worked wonders on the bipartisan support in other states around the country, and it gives real-time solutions. And the great thing about it is as these schools compete, as these kids get the opportunity, it will winnow away, because if you don't have a failing school, the Opportunity Scholarship Act doesn't need to exist.
Why hasn't it moved further?
Unfortunately, it's politics. Unfortunately, it's politics. The Democratic majority will not move this piece of legislation.
You just talked about all the bipartisan cooperation that goes
the vast majority. The
not
vast
on this
majority. Not on this one, unfortunately.
Let me do this. I'll give you a chance. We talked about this before. You remember we had a great discussion at the Business and Industry Association Forum.
Yeah.
We're talking about, I don't know if we should call it the death tax in New Jersey. It's expensive to die in this state.
It's the estate tax.
Put that in perspective. The estate tax.
Right.
What is
well,
it?
first of all, it kicks in at $675,000, number one. And the federal deduction is now it started at $5 million. It's now up to $5,350,000. It's indexing up. We are stuck at $675,000.
What is it?
And so when an individual dies, there's an inheritance tax and an estate tax.
Those are two different taxes.
And we're the only state in the union that has, I believe, has both. And so what happens is individuals structure their life so that they move out. And then in addition to this, we also are one of the few states that tax pension income. So Pennsylvania, what you see, is not only do you have individuals moving out of the state of New Jersey for warmer climes, you also have people moving across the river to Pennsylvania, which my understanding has a very similar environment to New Jersey, but they're moving there because Pennsylvania doesn't tax retirement income. So whether it's deferred compensation, whether it's pension income, I think we should be more like Pennsylvania, increase our pension deductibility. I've introduced a bill already that not only gets rid of the estate tax, but also increases by 50% or more, and ideally we can do more, the pension deductibility so that you can afford to retire in the state of New Jersey and make it affordable both on the estate tax side, but also on those individuals who are receiving pensions in the state of New Jersey, then they can it's more affordable.
A few seconds left. Vincent Prieto, the Assembly Speaker who we'll be talking to, he's just outside the door. We're in the Assembly, the Senate chamber. He told me once in that same interview that we did at BIA, Business Industry Association, he said we would lose that revenue, Senator, for those in the estate tax when they die. We get that money. You say
no. I'm saying those individuals stay in the state of New Jersey, whether it's the pension or the estate tax. You stay in the state of New Jersey for 10 more years earning income. So you have more income tax. You have more pension. People doing sales taxes. And then what happens is people are building hospitals and doing research in other states where they don't have this type of owner's tax system. So you have more jobs created in New Jersey in life sciences, in hospitals, in other areas, because people are giving charitable contributions in the state of New Jersey. They are creating jobs in the state of New Jersey, and it's a real opportunity for people to reduce the tax burden.
Never a dull moment here in the Statehouse.
It always keeps us young.
Thank you, Senator. We appreciate it.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence, and 13 for WNET. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Barnabas Health, TD Bank, NJ Best, Fedway Associates, Community Education Centers, the Northeast Regional Council of Carpenters, and by these public-spirited organizations, individuals, and associations committed to informing New Jersey citizens about the important issues facing the Garden State, and by Employers Association of New Jersey.